The AFE Momentum GT intake here should appeal to the 2011 and newer 6.4 owners out there who might be after a premium intake to help deliver more power and better throttle response by increasing airflow by nearly 20% over your factory airbox. Now, the carb certified option here will certainly not be the cheapest option in the category at nearly 500 bucks, but will offer an extremely nice build and components in return, all of which are backed by a 2-year limited warranty. So Advanced Flow Engineering, or AFE for short, are one of those companies that really continues to raise the bar when we're talking about designing and building aftermarket parts for the automotive world and other applications as well. Now, as the name suggests, AFE, Advanced Flow Engineering, they specialize in all things that flow. So obviously intakes are a given, but also things like downpipes, exhaust systems, and intercoolers is also what they do. And the best part is, guys, all of their stuff built very well and right here in the USA. But let's focus in on the Momentum GT intake here again for the 6.4, and the biggie that I want to point out right off the bat is that you are getting a very high quality sealed enclosure that will ultimately be your best bet at keeping your intake air temperatures low and your power up. Now listen, guys, we all love the look of those open element style filter systems along with the increased growl or noise that typically comes along with that setup, but those typically come at the cost of higher intake air temperatures, which can lower your power, especially if you sit in a lot of traffic or you live in a very warm climate. Now, the Momentum GT and its sealed airbox and clear window design, as you guys can see, will still deliver a pretty healthy increase in volume or growl underneath full acceleration, as a lot of our customers have pointed out, but more importantly, will be very, very good at keeping those intake air temperatures down. Now, the airbox itself here, along with your included intake elbow, these guys have both been CAD designed for a perfect fit, and they do feature a heat-resistant molded plastic with a black finish. Quick heads up here, guys, AFE does also offer this entire kit, but in a bright red finish as well. You can find that here on the site, so if you're the owner who likes a little bit more flash under the hood, or you kind of got a black and red theme going on, feel free to check that out as well, as you can find it for a very similar price point. Now, inside that sealed airbox design, you are going to find the Pro S dry filter from AFE, which, as the name implies, is a non-oiled filter that will still capture over 99% of harmful engine particles or contaminants, but without hurting your overall performance or airflow. Again, the proof is in the numbers here, guys, from AFE. They state that this system will outflow your factory intake system by nearly 20%, which is obviously very impressive. Finally, guys, the AFE has been carb certified, meaning Hemi owners out there in tough states like California can bolt this system up and go without the fear of any repercussions. Now, the AFE does not require the use of any custom or canned tuning. You can, of course, use it with tuning to maximize your gains, but it's not required. And again, you can bolt this thing up and go right out of the box without the need for anything else. Now, speaking of getting this thing bolted up or installed, let's switch our focus over to the install, and site's gonna call this pretty soft 1 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, maybe a couple of hours to complete from start to finish using some basic hand tools like a few screwdrivers or even a socket set. But to give you a better idea of just how the job will go down on your ride at home, here's an American Muscle customer to walk you through it now.
Now I'm going to remove the stock air intake to the 2021 Dodge Charger Scat Pack. The tools I'm going to use is rubber gloves, a 1/8 flathead screwdriver to assist me on taking off the temp sensor, 8mm socket with an extension, and safety glasses. All right, this is fairly simple to remove. You're going to use the 8mm socket to loosen up and remove the bolt here, to the clamp here, and clamp here. Then we're going to remove this hose here. Just take it off and remove the sensor. I'm going to use the 1/8 flathead screwdriver to release the sensor without breaking it. So what I want to do is just press gently into the gray part here so that the sensor comes off easily. And we'll just put that out of the way. Then we'll use the same screwdriver to pry off the hose so that you don't manhandle it off the unit. And that should just come straight off. Just a little help by just pushing it gently around the hose. So I didn't mar it or scrape it or anything like that. I was just pushing around the edges to help take it off. Okay, I'll just put that out of the way. Here is the 8mm wrench. We're gonna do lefty-loosey, righty-tighty. And we're gonna take off. I'm gonna put this off to the side. It's always good to use a cloth just so you don't scratch up your car, and it just keeps things organized. Even a metal tray is good. I'm gonna loosen up the bracket. This to the side. There's the 8mm over here as well. Enough. And again, I'm just going to take the screwdriver and gently just break the seal a little bit, just so I know that it's loose enough. So when I slide it off, there shouldn't be any tension. So to remove the air intake, you have to not only remove the bolts here, but you have to slide the bracket away from the plastic part right here, making it loose enough to pop off, just so you have that wiggle room. Then you're gonna, with two hands, gently push back so that the rubber removes from the old manufacturer's air intake. Here we go. And then the filter and the air intake housing should pop right up. Next step is to remove the factory intake tube. This is on there pretty tight, but once you loosen up the bracket and make some room, you can take your 1/8 screwdriver, gently stick it in underneath the tubing, push it in just a little bit. You may want to use this part later on, and then just pry it back so you have that room to pull the whole unit off. And you may have to do that around the unit just to break the seal. All right, the next step is prepping and getting ready for the air intake to be installed into the Dodge Charger. We're going to, the instructions call for the transfer grommet, the install trim, which is, they made it long enough that you actually have to trim it, and that's going to go at the bottom, but I'll explain that in a second. So this part is actually going to have to be trimmed at one point. The air filter and the housing. I put out this tool here. This is like for plastic piping, but it actually makes a straight cut for the tubing here when you need to install it on the bottom of the air intake housing. So just for me, this is what works. You can use, I guess, another tool, or if you have a better way to cut the rubber sealant off for the correct fit, that's up to you. We're going to flip this over, the air intake housing, and we're going to take the trim seal, and we're going to push the seal onto the unit. Now you'll see you're going to come up towards the end, meeting the other part of the seal, and you have too much, so you're going to have to trim that. So by eye, I'm going to, there's actually some little markings here that you can go by that. Take my trim tool, guesstimate, I'm going to cut it. Piece. And you're probably asking, why doesn't he just use a straight razor or a knife, right? Well, this has more power to cut the actual tubing because there's metal in here as well. So unless you got strong hands or you want to really rough it through, you're not going to get a straight cut from tool if you use a box razor or box cutter. And there you go. And now we're going to take the filter and we're going to place the filter inside of the filter housing. So it slides in there pretty easy. The only thing we have to make sure is that these notches lock into place with the filter housing. Pretty simple, pretty easy, just pops right in. All right, so for an older model, 2015, the manufacturer states if you want to, if you wish to install the headlight inlet duct, pop the cap that comes with the unit into the center of the air housing. In my case, I won't be using that because I have a newer model, 2021, and I want the air to flow as much as possible through the air duct housing. For this next part, you're going to need 2 clamps, both the smaller clamp and the larger clamp, along with your coupling, an 11mm socket, again using the extension with the ratchet. That's to get to the 11mm bolt in order to tighten your clamp. Your housing unit, and that should be it. I did fail to mention that this cup link was already attached to my filter before install. If in fact this comes separate, all you'll have to do is just gently install it over your filter. This is also an 11mm nut. I did make a mistake on my last install. I said that the grommet that originally has to go in the first step needs to go there. Well, the instructions supply a grommet, but it does not go here. It's my understanding that you remove the older grommet from the factory install and place it onto here, which makes a better fit, and the nut will actually sit in there. All right, take your 1/8 screwdriver, and how you're going to remove the factory grommet so it fits in correctly when you go to install the new air intake system is just gently pry down the metal piece, which will release this part, and I'm going to take this, move it to the side, and we're going to correctly install this piece into the lips there. Place this on first, and this underneath it so it fits now correctly. So now what we're going to do is take the old cup link and remove the temperature sensor out of the old cup link and install it into the new one. You have to be careful that you don't damage the sensor, as even though it's rubber and pretty hard to you know, damage anything. You want to make sure that you pull gently so that you don't have to replace your temperature sensor. We're going to take the grommet, install it into the hole here. And this is where the sensor will go. Place the grommet into the hole here, and then you're going to take this portion, this grommet, and stick it into the hole here gently so that you do not push in the rest of the rubber piece. Just like that, so it sits right on top of the coupling. Then you're going to take your stock sensor, place it, these have little notches here and female notches here as well. You're going to line it up and then turn it into place. Just like that. Take the hose that's provided and stick it over the male portion of your coupling. So it should look like that. Once the old air intake is removed, you'll find that you have a bunch of space to work with. Paying attention to this hole here, which will match up with a divot that is in place already with the air intake, the new air intake. This portion here has to lie inside of there. Now it's not going to snap in, it's just going to rest there. So don't stress yourself out, just make sure it's lined up. You also have to make sure that the grommet is in place securely so that during install it doesn't fall out, and it will line up with the secure bracket here. So what we're going to do is we're going to place this gently inside of the engine and just let it sit there. Nothing's securing this right now, we're just laying it in there for fit. The next step, we're going to take the sleeve and we're going to place the smaller coupling over the sleeve and place it on to fit. Second clamp is going to go on the larger end, just like that. Again, I'm going to face these up. You can face it any way you want, but that's my preference. Do not tighten these clamps at this time because you're still moving everything around. Okay, now that I have the air intake seated and I'm going to get ready to install the coupling into the air intake valve and into the rubber coupling, I'm going to secure the air intake box loose. I'm not going to tighten any bolts yet, other than just to put it in there so I can maneuver around the pieces as I deem fit. So I'm just going to gently now I'm going to remove the stock hose came with the charger, and we're going to be replacing it with the one that came from the manufacturer for the new air intake. I used an 8mm bolt for that, or 8mm socket for that, and I'm going to change it out, the socket wrench now, and put on the 11 millimeter because I want to tighten this up just a little bit so it doesn't move on me. I go to install the air intake. I'm not going to over tighten because I want to make sure that my cup link is on there as I tighten. All right, so we're going to install the tubing into the filter and into the cup link. I took the tube off because it just made it a little difficult to try to install the tube onto the hose onto the tubing and manipulate it. So I'm going to take the hose, already pre-install that into the engine compartment where it belongs. Move the bracket over. I had to change brackets because I lost the nut. That's my fault, not the company's. It came with it, so I'm just improvising. And then we're going to gently stick in the tubing into the filter. Again, I haven't tightened anything. I'm going to use my finger to gently wrap around the cup link around the tube, making sure there's proper fit. Placing the tubing onto the hose onto the tubing. So I'm making sure that all the gaps are taken. There's no gap between I'm making sure that there's no gaps in between the hose and the cup link before I tighten. So that's what it should look like. Secured the air intake tube into the filter and connected the hose into the tube, and now I'm going to connect the temperature gauge sensor. Now all I have to do is tighten up the bolts, and we're ready to give it a try.
But wrapping things up, if you're looking for a premium intake to help that 6.4 Hemi look, sound, and perform better overall, then be sure to check out the Momentum GT from AFE right here at AmericanMuscle.com.